Let me ask you something you may have never thought about before. What if the most unforgettable thing about you isn't your body there, but the words you say in the most intimate moment he'll ever share with you? We often hear that men are visual, physical, wired for touch. And sure, that's true to an extent. But what we don't talk about enough is how vulnerable men become in the moment of intimacy. When they're fully inside you, when the world disappears and it's just the two of you breathing together, heartbeat sensing, barriers gone, that is the moment when a man is most open to being emotionally marked, not by performance, not by perfection, but by something real. It's easy to underestimate just how impactful your presence just can be in that moment, because while you're wondering, does he think I'm sexy? He is wondering, am I reaching her? Is this just physical or is this real for her too? This is the moment where a man doesn't just feel aroused. He feels either deeply connected or completely alone. You realize that and that's why what you say while he's inside you matters more than you think. Because words spoken in that space, when his guard is down and your heart is open, can't be unheard. They realize that they become memories, they become anchors. And if you say the right thing with truth and vulnerability, it doesn't just make the sex better there. It creates an emotional imprint that no other woman will be able to duplicate. This isn't about manipulation. This isn't about control. This is about presence, about learning to connect to your own voice in a moment where most people go silent. And if you can speak from a place of honesty and feeling in that moment, you'll give him something far more powerful than plev him meaning. And that is what makes him never look at another woman the same way again. So let's talk about the words that hold that kind of power, what to say while he's inside you. If you want him to feel you in a way that no one else ever could, there's something incredibly powerful about this one sentence. I feel safest with you. At first glance, it may seem simple, even obvious, but when said in the right moment, with emotional sincerity and vulnerability, it's one of the most impactful things you can whisper to a man during intimacy, because what it communicates goes far beyond just comfort. It speaks to his core identity. Men, believe it or not, aren't just looking to be desired. Yes, they love feeling wanted, sexy, admired, but more than that, they're the kind of man who's emotionally available, who wants something, we're looking to feel needed in a way that goes deeper than physical validation. Realize that he wants to feel like he's providing something that matters. And when you tell a man that he makes you feel safe, you're not just complimenting his strength. You're telling him that he is your anchor in a world full of chaos, that his presence has the power to bring you peace. And for a man who genuinely cares about you, that is everything. There in that moment of vulnerability, when your bodies are connected and the masks come off, those words hit him in a place nothing else can reach. Because now sex is no longer just about sensation. It becomes a space of trust, a space where you are emotionally exposed, yet choosing to lean in rather than pull away. That trust makes him feel like protector, your safe place, your home. They're there. And that's when the experience of intimacy transforms into something unforgettable for him. But there's a nuance here. These words only have power when they're real. If you don't feel safe, realize that don't say it. This isn't a performance. This is about truth. Because when a man hears this sentence and believes it's coming from your core, they realize that it awakens a level of devotion in him that no surface level compliment ever could. He doesn't just feel desired. He feels like the man he wants to be when he's around you. Strong, safe, valuable, trusted. And there's a second effect that few talk about. When you express that you feel safe, you become safer for him too. It creates a two-way vulnerability. Suddenly realize that he knows he doesn't have to posture, prove himself, or constantly perform. He can let go of the pressure to be perfect because your words tell him that he's already enough. They're who he is, not just what he does, is what makes you feel protected and held. This phrase, just 5 simple words, can shift the entire tone of your relationship. In intimacy, it deepens connection. In conflict, it builds trust. In silence, it echoes. And long after the moment has passed, when he's lying alone thinking about what makes you different, this will be the moment he returns to. because pleasure fades, but emotional safety, that's addictive there. And the woman who can make a man feel like he's the one giving her that peace, that's the woman he'll come back to again and again, not just for the sex, but for the meaning behind it. There's a difference between being looked at and being seen. And for so many women, especially in the context of physical intimacy, the experience often feels like being looked at, assessed, desired, maybe even adored, but not truly understood. That's why the phrase, "no one sees me like you do," carries such an emotional punch when spoken during intimacy. Realize that it's not just a compliment, it's a revelation. It tells him, you don't just see my body, you see me, the woman behind the body, the heart behind the desire. And when a man hears that, especially when your bodies are already deeply connected, it awakens something he didn't even know he was craving. Significance. This one sentence flips the entire script, because now realize that you're not just two people sharing pleasure, you're acknowledging that he touches you in a way no one else has, that he sees the version of you that isn't always visible to the world. The soft parts, the insecure parts, the fierce and tender parts that you don't share easily. And when you say that no one else sees you like he does, you're giving him something far more valuable than sex. You're giving him access, emotional access, a key to your inner world. For men, they're especially those who are used to being pursued for what they can offer: looks, money, charisma. This kind of emotional moment feels like being chosen for something deeper. It sets you apart from every surface level experience he's ever had. Suddenly, he isn't just your lover, he's the one who gets you. And that feeling, that emotional elevation, cannot be replicated by another woman, because now you've associated that level of closeness with him and only him. But there's more. When you say this with real emotion, not as a script, but from a moment of genuine recognition, it builds reciprocal intimacy. It opens the door for him to say, "You see me too." You invite him to drop his mask. There. And when a man feels like you see him, not his image, not his performance, but his essence, that is what bonds him to you emotionally. That's when he stops chasing the high and starts chasing you. This phrase doesn't just live in the bedroom. It echoes into your relationship. It becomes something he remembers in moments of doubt, moments of stress, even temptation, because he knows that with you, he's not just admired, he's understood, is there. And once a man feels that kind of emotional recognition, it becomes the measuring stick for every other connection he'll ever experience. So when you say, realize that no one sees me like you do, you're not just feeding his ego, you're feeding the board. You're creating an emotional imprint that sex alone could never achieve. There. And for the kind of man who's emotionally intelligent and capable of love, that's the moment he chooses you. Not just for tonight, but for something much, much deeper. Realize that when you say the words, "I've never felt like this before," during intimacy, you do something more powerful than you probably realize. You create a moment that becomes etched into his emotional memory. Because no matter how many experiences a man may have had before you, realize that what you're doing with those words is telling him this one E is different. And that's what every man wants to feel. Not just that he's good in bed, but that he's the one who created a feeling in you that no one else ever has. You see, physical intimacy by itself can be thrilling, but it's also easily replicated. What can't be replicated is emotional exclusivity. That sense that this experience with this person, they're unlike anything else. And when you say, in a moment of deep connection, "I've never felt like this before," you're giving that man something precious. The feeling that he matters uniquely, that he's made you feel something real, raw, new, and uncharted. Realize that the beauty of this phrase is that it doesn't define the emotion. It lets the moment breathe. It could mean pleasure, it could mean closeness, it could mean vulnerability. But what it always means is truth. And when spoken sincerely, a man will remember it far more than any compliment about his body or performance, because now they realize that he's not just someone you're having a good time with. He's the man who took you to a place you hadn't been before. That's intoxicating. They realize that this taps into something primal in a man, the desire to leave a mark, not just to be enjoyed, but to be remembered. And when you tell him you've never felt like this before, that you're reflecting back to him that he's opened something in you. And that moment of reflection becomes a mirror he wants to return to again and again. Realize there, because it means he didn't just show up, he moved you. But here's the key, you have to be in the moment. These words only work when they're not a line. They have to come from genuine presence. Your body, your heart, your truth. Because when a woman speaks from emotional honesty during intimacy, the words may be simple, but their effect is profound. That level of vulnerability disarms a man in the best way. It makes him want to protect the feeling you're giving him, not just pursue it. And after the moment ends, that phrase lingers. He'll lie awake thinking about it. He'll remember how your voice sounded when you said it. He'll replay it, because now it's not just a memory of a physical act. It's the memory of being the man who made you feel something entirely new. And that's the moment he stops comparing. Because once he feels that kind of emotional power, he's not just satisfied, he's claimed. Not because you tried to own him, but because you showed him the one thing every man secretly hopes for, to be irreplaceable. There's a massive difference between being touched and being wanted. And when you say to a man in the most intimate moment, you make me feel wanted, not just touched, you open up a dimension of intimacy that most people never even access. Because in those words, you're acknowledging something deeper than desire. You're letting him know that what he's giving you isn't just physical attention, it's emotional affirmation. You see, for so many women, physical intimacy can sometimes feel disconnected, mechanical, transactional, like your body is being appreciated, but you are not. A kiss can feel empty, a touch can feel shallow, and even when the experience is physically pleasurable, you can still walk away feeling unseen. So when a man comes along who doesn't just touch your skin, but makes you feel craved, chosen, and held emotionally, that's rare, that's precious. And when you voice that feeling out loud, especially in the heat of connection, it becomes a moment he never forgets. Because here's what no one tells you: men want to be more than physical, especially when they actually care. When they respect you, when they're emotionally present, they want to feel like they're giving you something meaningful, not just stimulation, but validation. They want to know that their presence doesn't just turn you on. It anchors you, affirms you, lights you up from the inside out. That they're not just making love to your body, but creating an experience where you feel fully wanted. So when you say that phrase, you make me feel wanted, not just touched, you're telling him, this isn't just physical for me. This is where I feel emotionally met. You're saying this moment is feeding something in me that goes beyond the surface. And the powerful part, it lets him know he's not just doing something right, he's doing something meaningful. That kind of feedback is priceless, not just for his ego, but for his soul. Because real men, the ones capable of deep emotional connection, crave knowing they make you feel special, not compared, not used, not temporarily satisfied, but truly wanted. And this phrase doesn't just impact him, it also reconnects you to your own worth. It reminds you that you are not just a body. That intimacy for you is about presence, not performance. When you say these words, you're not asking him for more. You're honoring the connection that's already there. You're naming it, owning it, letting it be seen. And the beauty of that is, he sees you back. He's not just holding your body, he's holding your heart. And once a man knows he can give you that kind of feeling and that you recognize it, appreciate it, and respond to it, he stops chasing shallow highs, because now he's found something real. And real is what he'll never stop craving. There's a silent pressure that many men carry into the bedroom, one they rarely talk about. It's the pressure to perform, to impress, to be unforgettable. And for a lot of men, this pressure is so ingrained that even in moments of deep connection, they're still in their head wondering, am I enough? Is this good for her? Is she comparing me? So when you look him in the eye and say, you don't have to prove anything to me, in the middle of that vulnerable, intimate space, you do more than soothe his insecurities. You liberate him. You give him something he didn't even know he needed: the freedom to just be. To breathe, to drop the armor. You're telling him that your attraction isn't conditional, that you're not measuring him against some invisible checklist, that what you're experiencing in this moment isn't dependent on how perfectly he performs. It's about who he is right now with you in his most real and raw form. That kind of message creates a kind of peace that's intoxicating, because now sex isn't about achievement. It becomes about presence. Most men, even the confident ones, are constantly looking for reassurance in intimacy. They want to know they're making you feel good, that they're desirable, that they're enough. Realize that they're. But that desire can sometimes push them into performance mode, where they're more focused on how they're doing than how they're connecting. And when that happens, realize that the moment becomes about approval, not closeness. But when you say, you don't have to prove anything to me, you cut through that noise. You're saying, realize that you've already won me, not because of what you're doing, but because of who you are. And that creates something so rare, so intimate, that it sticks with him long after the moment is over. It becomes a memory that isn't tied to sex, but to safety. And emotional safety, when combined with desire, creates something truly unforgettable. The truth is, men want to be the hero in your story, but they also want to rest. And when a woman makes them feel like they can do both, be strong and vulnerable, be intense and at ease, that's when he begins to emotionally bond. There, he begins to see you as not just someone he's attracted to, but someone he can trust, someone who doesn't just want what he can give, but who sees value in who he already is. Realize that there. And when a man feels that kind of acceptance, he doesn't need to keep looking elsewhere, because now he's found the rarest thing of all. There, a woman who makes him feel both desirable and enough at the same time. So the next time you're in that moment and you feel the space to go deeper, remember that it doesn't take grand declarations to change a man's heart. Sometimes it just takes one honest sentence spoken at the right time. There's a kind of magic that happens when two people are fully present with each other. No distractions, no performance, no past or future creeping in. Just two hearts, two bodies, two souls. Realize they're in the same moment, breathing the same air. And when you say to a man in that exact space, right now, realize that there's no one else in the world. You're not just describing a feeling, you're creating a reality, one he will never forget. This phrase is powerful because it speaks to something men often don't realize they're craving: full, undivided presence in a world filled with noise, comparison, scrolling there, and constant options. Being fully chosen, not just with your body, but with your attention, is one of the sexiest, most grounding experiences a man can have, especially during intimacy. There, when the world has already melted away a little, this phrase takes him deeper. It tells him, you are all I see right now. I'm not in my head. I'm not thinking about anyone else. Realize that they're here with you. And when a man hears that, when he feels that it hits his heart like nothing else, they realize that they're, because now he knows you're not just there physically, you're emotionally anchored. You're not distracted. You're not mentally elsewhere. There, you're not holding back part of yourself to stay in control in. And that level of surrender is powerful, not because it makes you weaker, but because it makes the connection real, sacred. You see, men often worry whether the experience they're sharing is just one of many for you, whether this moment means to you what it means to him. When you say they realize that there's no one else in the world, you quiet that fear. You let him know you're not just present, you're with him in a way that makes time stop. Realize that that kind of intimacy isn't about being exclusive on paper. It's about being exclusive in your energy. And that's what haunts him in the best way there. And let's be honest, those are the moments we remember most in life. The ones where we felt completely seen, completely chosen, and totally held in someone's presence. Realize that those are the moments that define relationships, even if they only last minutes, because what you gave wasn't just your body, you gave your now. And for a man who's used to surface level attention, that kind of deep, unwavering presence becomes a drug he won't be able to replicate with anyone else. So say it. If you mean it, say, realize there, whisper it in his ear, look him in the eyes, let him feel the weight of your sincerity. Because once a man experiences a moment where he truly feels like he's the only one in your universe, realize that moment becomes the bar, and every other experience after that, it just won't feel the same there, because he won't just remember your words, he'll remember how deeply he felt like the only man in the world. You see, true intimacy isn't just about the physical. Realize that it's about the emotional fingerprints we leave on someone's heart, especially in the moments when they're most open. And when a man is inside you, when his guard is down there, when he's fully present with you, that's not just a moment of desire, that's a moment of influence, a moment of bonding, a moment that can either be forgettable or unforgettable. They realize that they're. Because here's the truth, no one talks about: men don't fall in love just from sex. They fall in love from what sex makes them feel about you and about themselves. They're when you speak words that make him feel emotionally seen, deeply accepted, uniquely wanted. You go from being a physical experience to an emotional imprint. You stop being one of many and become the one he can't forget, he compares every other connection to, the one he remembers long after the moment ends. But this only works when it's real. These aren't scripts to manipulate, they're invitations to show up fully in your feminine power, to speak from presence, from truth. They're from emotional confidence, because when a man feels that performance, not pretending, but he doesn't just stay, he chooses you again and again there. So here's what I want you to take away from this. The next time you're in that deeply connected, don't go silent. Don't hold back. Don't underestimate the power of your voice there, because what you say in those few sacred seconds can echo in a man's heart for a lifetime. Speak from your truth. Connect with his soul. Say something real, and and I promise you, he'll never look at another woman the same way again.